Okay, so I just finished watching Doctor Who Eve of the Daleks, and it was kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be, and that was just like a very mediocre episode. However, the only reason it may seem, really good to people is that mediocre for the Chibnall era, like, that is good for the Chibnall era. But, yeah, we'll talk about this. So, the premise for this episode, and I'll put a spoiler warning if you don't want to be spoiled at the mere mention of anything. But this episode is basically Doctor Who does Groundhog Day. In fact, there's even a reference to it in the episode itself. So, yeah. And to be honest, that isn't a bad premise. But the thing is, it's a premise we've seen basically, done to death, essentially. But it could have been an interesting one. The premise of the episode is probably the most interesting thing about it because everything else about it just kind of. It's either uninteresting or just kind of falls flat. I enjoyed the first couple of Dalek sort of chase around segments where basically, the Doctor and co are trying to basically avoid the Dalek and eventually three Daleks. That I actually pretty much, enjoyed the first couple of times, but then it just kind of got really boring and repetitive when it was just the same thing over and over. It also failed to create really any tension for me. I think for example, the introduction of the Dalek is fairly weak. I think it should have been introduced in either a more dynamic way or put off its reveal slightly, even though obviously we know it's the Daleks. But yeah, the tension building is like, doesn't really, didn't really feel like this in the episode. At no point did I feel like our characters were in danger at any point. So yeah, and as ever, the dialogue is it's just bad. It's that typical, cringy, at times Chris Chibnall dialogue. Yeah, it is that basically Lex basically explain a bunch of things rather than say it. And also, this doesn't feel like a Dalek story. Like, you could switch out the Daleks with basically almost any other monster or villain, and you'd have the same effect. It's not really a Dalek story. And also the way the Daleks talk in this, it really just doesn't sound like the Daleks. And I think the only way it gets away with this is because of Nick Briggs's excellent performance as ever as the voice of the Daleks in this. But yeah, and in terms of the props, well, the newer props now, they're just not made like they used to, and I really don't get why they changed the plunger to this claw arm grip thing if they're never ever going to use it. And also the reason for their new sort of almost Spitfire type guns is so that the Doctor cannot sonic the guns. Which, yeah, the sonic screwdriver is just completely way overused. In fact, literally, the Doctor is holding the sonic screwdriver for at least half this episode. It is in her hand, sonicking bloody everything. So, yeah, the reason the Daleks got them guns is so she can't, sonic the guns, which the Sonic shouldn't be able to do that anyway. Because otherwise, that is just a far too overpowered, convenient thing. I think, it is a case of just like, the Sonic is just whatever convenient thing it needs to be to resolve the situation in the episode. And also the thing I really don't get about this is that basically the Daleks, are specifically trying to exterminate the Doctor because of the Flux, for revenge for the Flux, because the Daleks blame the Doctor for basically wiping out apparently it wasn't all the Daleks that went there, even though it was stated previously that it was. But whatever. But the thing is, it's just like, okay, but I think Chris Criminal seems to have this weird thing where the Daleks always go out of their way to go kill the Doctor, which is not the case. It's not the case. In fact, the Daleks hate the Doctor, and if the Doctor turns up to wherever the Daleks are, then obviously the Daleks will go and kill the Doctor. But yeah, I think that hatred has gone a bit too far. I mean, an example of the Daleks getting revenge, that makes a bit more sense, is the Daleks in The Chase. They send a single task force out, of a small number of Daleks. They don't send out every single fucking Dalek after the Doctor. And in this case, only 3 turn up. And there's a couple of questions I have. So I can accept the first Dalek may have just entered as the time loop, began. So that one Dalek was there. But then we have more Daleks enter the loop. And my question is, how do more Daleks enter the loop? Because of the whole time loop thing, how do more of them keep adding to it? But okay. But I'll accept that. But the bigger question at the end is, okay, so those 3 Daleks failed. Why don't more Daleks immediately come after that? Like, as soon as, the Dalek ship where they've come from, as soon as they lose contact, why don't they just send down more Daleks? Why do they stop at 3? Why do they stop at 3 Daleks? I don't understand. It's like, you haven't defeated the Daleks. In fact, you haven't even delayed the Daleks. You stopped 3 of them. So are you trying to tell me that only 3 Daleks survived? Which, if that was meant to be the case, then please state it, because that is clearly not implied. So why did the Daleks just stop at 3? I don't get it. Why did the Daleks just stop at 3? If every Dalek now, if the number 1 priority for the Daleks as a species is to now destroy the Doctor, like go out of their way at all costs to get revenge, then why do they stop at 3? Why do they stop at 3? Don't know. I don't know. But the TARDIS, which is now seemingly fully fixed by the end of the episode, because the whole thing of it is that it was heavily rumoured that the TARDIS would basically start breaking down more and more as the specials went on, and that would eventually reveal a new TARDIS interior, but that's not the case here. That's not the case. Apparently it's fixed by the end and all hunky-dory again. So, I mean, overall, this story, I don't know. It has an odd, funny moment with Dan, which literally the moment with Dan and the cardboard box pretending to be a delivery man or something. Like, to be honest, that felt like it came straight out of a Scooby-Doo cartoon, and it was legitimately pretty funny. So I enjoyed stuff like that. The romance between the woman and the man, because for the life of me, I cannot remember their names. Because, I mean, for one, they start to like each other far too quickly, and they even mention this. Like, I know it was a time loop, but even in the time loop, you only knew each other for a few minutes in that, so yeah, it's a bit weird. I'd understand if this was a time loop that, was over a longer period of time, but in total, you only probably knew each other for what? An hour? Well, I don't know if this story is sort of playing to real time and sort of not, but whatever. And then we have the whole thing of finally confirming outrightly that Yaz does fancy the Doctor. And it's just like, kind of just comes out. I wouldn't say it completely comes out of nowhere, but it's just like, okay. To be honest, I've never been a fan of companions fancying the Doctor. I've never been a fan of that, just because it just really drags things down there, to be honest. And I don't want a repeat of the 10th Doctor and Rose stuff and that. So yeah, just because everything has to be a romantic kind of thing now. But whatever. I mean, overall, this episode is just kind of what I expected. Like, there are moments in it that I think, oh, okay. But the way this is directed as well, just like, this is just kind of blandly directed as well. It just doesn't seem to have that tension in it. And also, the way the Daleks are shot as well is just very, very flat. It makes me miss the days when we had, for example, Graham Harper. Like, Graham Harper directed a couple of the new series Dalek stories, and obviously directed Revelation of the Daleks, who got some pretty creative shots in there. So yeah, clearly the Daleks are just kind of a thing that is there. And honestly, you could switch them out with the Cybermen, you could switch them out with the Sontarans, and it would be the exact same thing. It's just not there. It just kind of feels, wasted. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for this Thoughts on Watching. I haven't really got anything else to say, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.